Hey YouTube, Grunt Reviews back in the studio for a little comparison head-to-head again. We are going to compare the Ruger 57 to the original and the King, the FN 5.7. Guys, as always, go down below, click like, click subscribe, drop a comment, hit that notification bell, and I also put a link in the description. If you want to help us out here at the channel, feel free to buy us a coffee, and let's get into it. So we've got these side by side. Let's go ahead and really kind of compare them. So FN, obviously the original. For those of you that played any of the Tom Clancy games back in the day or Counter-Strike, this pistol holds a special place in your heart. Obviously, it was the original 5.7. The round did come from FN, and it's gone through several iterations over the years. I believe they had the USG model, the IOM model, and then now the Mark II model. So, big difference between the two of these. FN actually polymer coats the slide on this, so you can actually see the metal slide and then the polymer over the top of it, whereas the Ruger is an all-metal slide with no polymer coating on it. FN does give you some very nice aggressive serrations on the front and on the rear, and what I really like is they give you some nice little wings, very similar to a VP9 pistol that really makes it easy to get your fingers on, even with gloves, and manipulate the slide. Ruger gives you serrations, both front and rear. They don't give you the, I'm going to call them wings on the back side. Both pistols are equipped with target sights, so they are both adjustable for windage and elevation. The 5.7 uses a 3-dot setup, so 3 white dots, and there are a few companies that are converting these to night sights. The 57 gives you a blacked out rear with a green fiber front. So I guess if we're going on a very arbitrary point system, point to the 5.7 for a better serration design, point to the 57 for better sights, in my opinion. Both do have polymer frames. The one big complaint with the 5.7 that a lot of people have is the safety on this. So they use a forward frame mounted safety, does have a nice red indicator, and it is ambidextrous. The downside to this safety is you either have to manipulate it with your support hand thumb, whether you be left or right-handed, or you have to manipulate it with your trigger finger. It's not very large, so the downside is it's very easily swept over with the finger and missed, and it's one thing I wish FN would have improved upon. The 57, of course, uses a 1911 style ambidextrous paddle safety, so very easy to activate with your thumb on either side. And they, of course, do give you an indicator on the left side, red indicator for fire, and then an S for safe. So I think going to that 1911 style, Ruger did a much better job, and that definitely is a solid improvement over the original. Both, of course, do give you a pick rail. Ruger does run it out a little bit further for larger accessories than the FN does. Getting into the grips, the texture of the FN is significantly more aggressive, and they do give you a bit of a finger bump there. The downside is the FN, comparing them side by side, is definitely a fatter grip. So a lot of people with smaller hands always used to complain about them because you do need some big paws to really get your hand around it. But their use of this checkering, as well as these, I'm going to call them serrations on the front and on the back strap, really does allow you to get a fantastic purchase on the weapon. Really get your hand in there and really get a grip on it, even if you are wearing gloves. The Ruger, much less aggressive texturing. The plus side to this is if this is something you are carrying, and I will say appendix, this has a little bit more chance of rubbing against you and irritating your skin, whereas the less aggressive texture is obviously a little bit easier on your stomach or side depending on where you carry it. Grip does feel very nice on the Ruger as well too. Being a little bit slimmer, it's a lot easier to get your hand around if you have smaller hands. Magazine releases on both of these. The FiveseveN uses a little bit larger mag release, very easy to activate. Some people have complained and said depending on the grip, it is possible to activate it with your support hand. It's pretty difficult to do. You would really have to sink your support hand down low, or you would really have to bring your firing hand up high enough to engage that. But I could see how that could be an issue, possibly for some folks. Ruger did a little bit better job hiding their mag release down further. Still very easy to hit with the thumb. So point to the FiveseveN for size. Point to the 57 for location. Takedown system. With the 57, you have to press the takedown lever out, rotate it 90 degrees. With the FiveseveN, you have to pull the slide back just enough, activate the takedown, and then once the takedown is activated, both guns disassemble in a very similar fashion. The last thing is the secondary safety on both firearms. On the 57, it actually uses a magazine safety, which is something I very much dislike. So, with the firearm empty, we will disengage the safety and we are able to fire. If we drop the magazine, the trigger still moves, but the weapon does not fire until the magazine is reinserted. I think the magazine safety is a little bit unnecessary. If any of you have seen Elite Ammunition, when they do a trigger job on these, one of the things they do remove is the magazine safety because it does increase the trigger pull. Anytime you add an extra safety to a firearm, you're adding additional cost, you're adding additional complexity, and you're also adding an additional failure point. Having an external safety, I don't believe that you need another safety mechanism inside of the firearm. Obviously, drop safeties are very important, and that's included in everything modern. But in terms of a trigger or a magazine safety, my personal feeling is that you don't need it. Trigger pull on these. We get a nice little bit of take up there, a firm wall. Yeah, helps turn the safety off. Nice little bit of take up, nice firm wall, little bit of creep, and a nice break. And on the reset, little bit of a longer reset, nice audible click. We're back on the wall and break. The 57, instead of a magazine safety, does use a striker fired style dingus safety, as we'll call it. As I showed in the original tabletop video of this, the only complaint I kind of have with it is if you were to get this off angle. So let's say you hook the trigger and you started to engage the trigger before the dingus, no matter how hard you push on that, it will not fire. You have to then release the trigger, engage the dingus, and then pull it to complete the firing cycle. Just like the 57, the dingus is unnecessary, adds extra parts, adds extra complexity, adds an extra failure point. Really wish they would have just gone with a straight trigger, like the 5.7, excuse me. So point to the 5.7 trigger on the 57. I was hoping for a little bit more improvement, but it is a little bit lighter, but very similar to the FN. Little bit of take up. We hit our wall, creep, 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 and break. And long reset. A much quieter audible click, and then creep, creep, and break. So the final question that everybody's going to ask is, if you had to buy one of these, which one would you purchase? Part of this is for nostalgia reasons. Part of it is because I do like the way that it handles and it shoots better. I have thousands of rounds through this thing. If money was not an object, I would definitely buy the FN. It is the original. FN obviously has a fantastic reputation for quality, and it is a very well-built firearm. That being said, the 57 in no way, shape, or form is a slouch. For roughly half the price, definitely very serviceable, definitely very usable. When we get it out to the range, we'll see how she shoots. But if you're in the market and you do want to add something to your collection that is chambered in 5.7 by 28, obviously, if you can get the FN, go with that. If you're able to find a Ruger 57, definitely a good option as well. Guys, as always, if you have a different opinion, anything I missed, anything else you want to see, go down below, drop a comment. We do our best to respond to everybody on all of our social medias. Facebook, of course, here on YouTube, and we are on Parler as well. Guys, as always, I appreciate your time. Thank you for watching. Stay safe. Train hard.